Yo, there's something beautiful about Bearcats basketball. High flying.
Kenyon with a jam.
Shot denying.
Miles rejected.
There's just an energy that comes with the Cats. A rich history built on toughness.
And Mick Cronin looks like he wants a technical.
A bring-your-own-lunch pail mentality. For a long time, UC was the hunted.
And I felt that we couldn't lose.
I think it's time the Bearcats do a little hunting of their own.
Once y'all done with them, send them to me, man. You know what I mean? We can put them on the court. Keep that Bearcat thing going.
I am fired up.
Takes it all the way. Oh! It's going to be Little.
I wonder how Steve Logan would be over in Afghanistan or somewhere. I bet he'd be pretty poised. He just does not get rattled.
Van Exel, he'll cut it loose. Watch out. Stevenson cuts it about. Oh! Kilpatrick outruns everybody. Johnson, the exclamation point.
We've been dealt the king of heartbreak over and over again.
Rose here. Smith and
Everything they worked for was undone on one play.
But I see the light. The Cats are back. Lukosius, open three, got it! Oh, baby! Welcome to the only live Bearcats postgame show on YouTube. This is Chatterbox Bearcats. Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. A lot of ways you can check out the show. Obviously, streaming live after every single game on YouTube. It's Nick Niehaus, it's Houdini, it's Chuck Walter. I'm Chuck Walter. It's also Eric Lilly, who are the pioneers of this show and take you on a voyage. We are also wherever you get your audio podcasts, free and available. If it's free, it is for me. Bearcats do what they were supposed to do today. 84-49 winners over Grambling. This one was over before the fans had a chance to get their popcorn. It was, 15-3 right out of the gate, Houdini? So today we're not going to spend a ton of time on this game. We're going to give our initial thoughts. We're going to get into some Christmas wish lists of what we hope for the Bearcats, and we'll talk about their 10-1 start as non-conference has concluded. It is the Big 12. It is only downhill from here, most likely, unless the Bearcats run the table, because it's been a hot start to the season. Let's begin with today, a game that Cincinnati never trailed. 15 points for Aziz Bandaogo to lead the way. The most encouraging thing about Bandago's performance, once again, the free throw shooting. 5 of 6 from the line. He finishes with 15 and 6. 13 for Dylan Mitchell, 7 rebounds, 7 for Lukosius on a tough night shooting, 1 of 6 from 3. Jizzle James also 1 of 6 from 3. He had 7 points. Dan Skillings, 1 of 5 from 3. He had 7 points. And then Zella had 2 off the bench. 9 for Arrington Page, 9 for Tyler Betsy. Another good game for Day Thomas. He had 12 and 3 for CJ Frederick, his first action in quite some time. Final numbers for Cincinnati, 9 of 32 from 3, good for 28%. But again, the most encouraging number, 15 of 20 from the free throw line, 75%. It's not great, but for this team, it is excellent. Welcome, Houdini. Bearcats cover. Bearcats win. Non-conference slate is done. How are we feeling?
Feeling good. Yeah, I'm not taking too much from the win against, the highly touted Grambling Tigers. But typically, just from a schedule standpoint, 2 emotional wins back to back. This had the makings of a trap game, but it's Grambling, so it really didn't matter. We could have played our backups the entire game and still won this game by 15 plus. But just puts a little bow on out-of-conference play. Boop. Get right into, I don't hate having this type of a bye game going into Big 12 play. We just had our 2 biggest out-of-conference games. You got to like what you saw. I mean, whatever. This was just kind of getting some cardio in, getting shots up. Like you said, I liked what I saw from Aziz. Dylan Mitchell got a little bit more active today. He only had 3 attempts against Dayton. So you like what you see. It's Grambling. So we're not going to talk too much about this game, but hey, we won by 40.
Hey, this is a team that took Ole Miss down to the final possession. Aside from that, they've gotten waxed by everyone. They're now 2-9 or 2-10 on the season after the loss today. Bearcats should probably be in the top 15 when the AP polls come out on Monday. Now, our guy, Jeff Goodman, not our guy whatsoever. He's a fraud, an absolute huckster of a reporter. He doesn't even have the Bearcats in his top 25. He had Dayton at 21 in his top 25 and no Bearcats. Is he just trolling us at this point? Like, what's going on with Jeff Goodman?
Oh yeah, it's rage bait. 100%. Like 90% of the comments on that tweet is just you see like burners going, seriously, Goodman, you rat bastard. Like it's rage bait because he got us going. He went off on the net rankings when we were like what 12 in the net and we beat the likes of Grambling by 40. And he was talking about how bull crap the net ranking system is in general. When you beat teams like Grambling by 40 points, you actually increase in the net. We're sitting at 25 in the net, 25 in the KenPom. I'm assuming because they do like these types of wins, even though it's not a great team. When you blow them out, the net does like that as far as how the algorithm works. So we'll probably go up to a few slots, I would say. And yeah, we should probably be 16, 15 in the AP poll. I don't hate it.
You know what's funny is when Mick Cronin left, we tried to tell ourselves that everything was going to be okay, and it's wound up being all right. It took a long time. I mean, he left in 2019? That was a long time ago that we've struggled as a program. But we tried to tell ourselves that we were happy. We're like, oh, John Brannon's coming in. He's going to run a high-flying motion offense. Like, we love this. And the disgusting basketball had just gotten to us, to a fan base, to the point where we couldn't watch it anymore. It's kind of disgusting basketball again, but we're welcoming it. We love the bring your own lunch pail mentality. We love the high flying, shot blocking, turn the other team over Bearcats. But that stat that came out at the beginning of the season, because I was kind of torn. After one of our first shows, I said, this is going to be a defensive minded team. That's going to be our identity. It's going to be defense. It's going to be rebounding. It's going to be toughness. Then a few games in, it was like, all right, you know what? This team may be able to shoot. We had the #1 field goal percentage in the country. And I sent out a little tweet, fired it off and said, this is just what we are. This is a good shooting team. We have high flyers. We have guys that can finish tough buckets around the rim, and we have great three-point shooters. Boy, was I wrong. This team can't shoot a lick, man. 9 of 32, that's 28%. They've been shooting in the 20s or the 30s consistently. I know Simas Lukosius with that 69% start to the season through like 5 games really boosted our percentages. But is this as bad a shooting team as we've shown thus far? Like, what do you take away from us as three-point shooters? And if so, why are we shooting it 32 times from deep?
I don't think we're this bad. Yeah, we were talking early in the season, like, oh wow, we got sharpshooters everywhere. When's the last time we saw this? And we haven't eclipsed, I don't think 30%.
Niehaus, remember the story that Niehaus said, dude? He was like, I was at the game with my father. He called him his father first of all. And he said, I was looking around. I said, Dad, Father, have we ever seen this many sharpshooters on the floor at one time for UC? And I'm like, you ever heard of Field Williams, Tony Bobbitt, Leonard Stokes, whoever was on some of those teams back in the days? It was better than this. I can promise you that. But yeah, I do think we're not as bad a shooting team. Go on.
No, because we are getting some flashes of like a Mick Cronin style where we're just defensively elite and we're missing shots, but we're rebounding like crazy. But with the personnel that we have, I do have faith that we have some shooters. This isn't Titus Rubles and Jelon Gwynn, that are just athletes and just launching it off the backboard as hard as they can. Like, we got some skill guys. I think the numbers will go in our favor. And that's what I was saying last show, that I really like that we're still able to beat good teams without even shooting the ball well. I think these shots are going to fall. We're getting good looks too. It's not like we're chucking, I know Simas does a bunch of step backs, which we've seen him make enough to say that's a good shot for me. But we're getting open looks. We're just missing them. We had no Connor Hickman. I was hoping we'd get a little Connor Hickman run to get maybe his confidence. He hits down, knocks down three-pointers, something like that, because he's been a roller coaster of a three-point shooter this year. But yeah, 9 of 32. Like, we're not going to be able to shoot like this against really elite teams and expect that to consistently win games down the stretch. So we got to figure that out. But I have faith in the lineup, or the roster, I should say.
I do think we'll be in games, though. That's the thing. Like, Xavier, I think at this point has shown enough to where they're all right. They're not good. They're not necessarily bad. They're just a decent basketball team that fights like hell. Dayton, I think they're a pretty solid team. We beat them with one of the worst shooting performances you will ever see. So I do think that the Cats, just from their size, their speed, their ability to turn you over, get out in transition, will be okay, even if they can't shoot it well. But if they want to be a great team, they got to be better than this. And it really does start with Simas Lukosius, who goes just 1 of 6 in the game. Jizzle James against Dayton was knocking everything down. He kind of comes back down to earth, 1 of 6 from 3 in the game. I'll tell you what, a lineup that I really like, and this goes back to that Dayton game. I haven't had a chance to really give my thoughts on that contest. And my overall thought is like, that was swarming. That was exactly how I want this team to play. In your face, high pressure, on ball defense, starting at the guard positions, long athletic forwards. Like, that is how you are going to beat teams. Just suffocating. You make sure that other teams don't score for 6-7 minutes at a time, because inevitably this is a Cincy team that's probably going to go 5-6 minutes themselves without scoring a bucket. But that lineup, man, with Day Thomas and Jizzle James in there together, I've been begging for it for a long time. And Wes teased us a little last year. You know, he gave it to us just a little bit, usually in games that were like that TCU game and Iowa State game where it was over like 10 minutes in. It felt like that's where he'd give us that lineup. I think we're starting to see that he may flirt around with that lineup a little bit more. And I think we've seen that Josh Reed, Rayvon Griffith, CJ Frederick, 3 guys right there that probably aren't going to be in the rotation in most of these games. But Day and Jizzle, your thoughts on that lineup at the, you're giving up size, but gaining a lot of speed, man.
Yeah, I don't know defensively if there's a better backcourt combination like in the country. When those 2 guys are on the floor, Jizzle James' defense has been awesome this year, much improved from his freshman campaign. And Day Thomas is just a freak. I mean, yeah, you're right. The size is really where you could have some issues, but with that on-ball defense, it makes everything. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Justin Big Love Tolles. Houdini, your bald head fits perfectly in your Cincinnati frame you have. Yes, I had it custom made to fit the bulbous head of mine perfectly. So I appreciate that. Good shout out. But yeah, no, I like Day Thomas and Jizzle James playing at the same time. Just defensively, it's elite, and they obviously have explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball. I thought Day Thomas has shown a lot of good promise, being able to penetrate. He's one of those guys, almost like a Russell Westbrook, where he can get open no matter what. Like, he's too quick, too athletic. He'll be able to get open. Sometimes it's to his detriment. You know, like if he wanted to, he could have 15 shots a game just based on his athleticism and quickness. But yeah, I love that lineup, and it seems like our guy Wes Miller likes it too. He's doing it a lot.
He's been awesome, man. I'll tell you what, the one thing that really scares me, and it brings us to our Christmas wish list. Dear Santa, this year for Christmas, all I want is a Cats Big 12 championship. Actually, that's not all I want, Santa. I have a long list. Bear with me. Wish number 1 for me is Arrington Page needs a better offensive bag. And he's got some skill, man, but he's got to show it consistently. Like Wes has talked about all year how Arrington's just going to get better as the season goes along, and come February, come March, he's going to be dangerous. They need that, man, because the thing about the Dayton game was, outside of Aziz lobs and Aziz offensive putbacks and wide open dunks off some set plays, he's not really a threat down low. Like even against Grambling, you're getting the ball to him on the block and telling Aziz to make a play, and he's not really making that play offensively unless he's getting the foul line. Then he's scoring. But the reason why the 2017, 2018 team was so damn good is because you could give it down low to Kyle Washington. You could get that lefty hook that we all loved. You could give it down low to Gary Clark. He'd spin one in. He'd make a move on the block. Like, good teams can play inside-out basketball. If you can't play inside-out basketball, you're going to get a lot of stagnation in the half court, which is what we've seen from Cincinnati. And sometimes your best offense is just, hey, CMOS, chuck up a 3, or, find someone that's not a great shooter in Jizzle James or Dan Skillings for a wide open 3. But Arrington Page, man, that could change this team if he develops quickly throughout the season. And I'm not going to necessarily bank on it, just like I'm not necessarily going to bank on my other wish, which is Dylan Mitchell becoming just a very creative offensive player and being able to score at will. I just don't think that's his game right now. I don't know if it ever will be his game. But Page is someone, man, that he's tantalizing. Like, he shows you some promise down low on the block. You see the same thing?
And I thought he played great against Dayton too. Box score didn't really show it, but I liked what I saw from Arrington Page. And the one thing that we're missing, if you're grasping at straws here, is a back to the basket score. Like that's not Aziz's game. We know that. We've seen that. Gumby in the post, he's fallen down, he's taking a terrible hook shot. That's just not his game, and that's okay. But we do need somebody that we can actually feed the post. Like you said, that inside out game is critical, especially when we're going to start playing some bigger opponents, better talented bigs. And Arrington Page has that footwork. He does. Like we've seen it. He had a good game today. They're playing Grambling, right? But if he could develop where we could actually feed him the rock and have him, two quick dribbles and up and under moves, something like that, where we can feed the post, that's going to be huge. Because maybe that was McKinley, the way Wes was talking about McKinley. Maybe that was what he was supposed to be for this team. Probably. I guess we'll see next year. But yeah, if Arrington Page can develop into something like that, and it's not like he's going to be a guy that we're, expecting to put up 15 points. But, a few times a game, he, averages 8, something like that. That would be huge for us.
What is your biggest wish that you were sending to Santa? You pull out the letter and you send it down to the toy makers. You don't want toys. You want maybe a Connor Hickman jump shot? Like, what do you want from Santa for the Bearcats this holiday season?
Well, you took it off the top. My first wish list was to get to Jeff Goodman, that Rats top 25. I was like, just please put us in there. So this is what I want, Chuck. I want a 5 seed or lower in the NCAA tournament this year. I'm not even talking about getting into the tournament. I want a 5 seed or lower. That's how good I think this team could be. My other thing that you already mentioned, I want Dylan Mitchell more involved in the offense. I want him to expand his game because he had 3 shots against Dayton, man. Like, I just feel like he's too talented, too big, too athletic to only be getting 3 shots off. I just want him more involved because he is the best athlete on the floor every game we play. And I think it'll be that way even through Big 12 play. So I really want him to get more involved. And yes, Connor Hickman was on that list too. Because if we can get Connor Hickman to just knock down shots, because if not, Chuck, then if we're going to be shooting 28% from 3 consistently, I think you have to get CJ Frederick involved. You do, right? Like, you can't just shoot sub 30% from 3 and expect to continually winning games just based on your defense. Like, CJ Frederick might have to get in the rotation if we keep doing this.
Yeah, and I mean, we turned Dayton over, one of the best offensive teams in terms of protecting the basketball, 17 times? You can't expect to do that every night in the Big 12. And when you're not getting easy buckets, like I look at that Dan Skillings play against Dayton where defense just suffocating. Dan Skillings reads the ball handler and his pass, takes it away, goes to the other end, lays it up. There were a few of those plays. I know Day had one where if you're not getting those easy buckets, it's a completely different game. And there's going to be a team in the Big 12 that takes care of the basketball. We're not able to turn them over. And then how do we get our point? We can try with the lob all we want, but we've seen the last 3 games that, that lob isn't always the most efficient play in the world. We connected about a 33% clip. Does that sound about right? I mean, it's about our 3-point percentage as of right now. 3-point percentage, by the way, for Cincy is 36%, which means that we were just red hot out of the gate, shooting near 37% on the season, because it hasn't been near 37% in quite some time, man.
No, it hasn't. It certainly hasn't. And CMOS really skews the numbers because he was on fire. Like we said, he was shooting like 70% from 3. He's come back to earth a little bit, which maybe it's good. Maybe it's good for the numbers for him to come back to earth and get back into it come Big 12 play. Because I hate to look ahead because you haven't done it yet, but Kansas State, I know they're not good. I think they're like 130th in net ranking, something like that. They haven't looked good. I think they just got their ass beat by Wichita. It's a road game, man. It's a road Big 12 game. It's going to be tough. I'd love to come out swinging, start the conference slate off right, beat Kansas State, but we're going to need to shoot the ball a little bit better. A 33% clip on the lobs, Chuck, I would say it's much higher than that overall. Against Dayton, I think we were like 1 of 19 with the lob pass. We get so excited. We had some nice ones tonight. I will say that, but you're playing a JV squad. But Wes has got to tell these guys, hey, if the lob isn't there, don't force it, because we love forcing a 30-foot pass to Aziz Bandago that goes into the rafters. So we gotta work on that, because we were turning the ball over. I mean, it's a turnover, right? So something to keep an eye on. I still think with Aziz on the floor, the lob threat is going to always be a big part of our game plan. So hopefully we can just kind of clean that up a little bit.
All right, before we get into the heart of the Big 12 schedule, and we're going to break down this entire thing, I'm interested because I'm looking at the tickets right now for road and home games. What do you think the most expensive ticket on the schedule is? And what do you think the cheapest ticket on the schedule is? Don't look.
I'm just looking at the schedule. I would say it's going to depend on what actual calendar day it is too. I would say Kansas at home is going to be the most expensive ticket. Am
You're
I
right.
wrong?
$84 is the lowest ticket you can get.
And then you're asking what the cheapest one is?
Yep.
At home?
Just any, home or away.
It might be Kansas State.
No,
They stink.
Kansas State's, it's going to charge you, about $10 to get in. You're paying the price of a Carl's Jr. sandwich
Utah?
and fries. No, it's at UCF, man. They're practically paying you to go. It's $2 for a ticket to watch the Bearcats in Orlando. So
UCF fans are just loud on Twitter. I just thought they had like a pretty strong fan base that just showed up regardless. UCF isn't even bad really this year either. But all right, I guess we're going to
give a
UCF.
damn.
Family vacation.
We play them on the CBS Sports Network. So a lot of games actually this season on the CBS Sports Network. First three actually, or I guess 3 of our first 5 in Big 12 play on ESPN Plus at Baylor, Kansas, and Colorado on our favorite streaming platform, ESPN Plus. So hopefully not as much of a disaster as the Crosstown Shootout. But let's get into it, man. Let's start off with the Big 12 standings right now. We thought this was going to be a juggernaut. It still could be. But as of right now, this is a very, very winnable conference. You have 3 ranked teams, 4 ranked teams if you include Cincinnati. The 3rd team in the country, Iowa State. The 19th ranked Cincinnati Bearcats. The 8th ranked Kansas Jayhawks. The 15th ranked Houston Cougars. That is it. Baylor's been somewhat disappointing, but they are 7-3. TCU at 7-4. They beat Xavier. They're all right. Not Jamie Dixon's best team, but I bet if you play TCU on the road, they're going to be tough. Arizona's 6-5, but I'm still not counting them as an automatic win, although it is at home. Kansas State 6-5 on the road. That's terrifying. Utah's 8-3. Madsen twins. Oklahoma State 8-3. Houston 8-3. UCF 9-2. Texas Tech 9-2. Kansas and Colorado 9-2. BYU 9-2. Arizona State 9-2. And then the top 3 teams in the league right now. 10-1 Iowa State, 9-2 West Virginia, 9-1 Cincinnati. Your overall thoughts on this conference throughout the non-conference slate? Who is disappointed? Who has been a pleasant surprise?
Well, Arizona and Baylor, very disappointing. I mean, I've watched too many games. Baylor, I think I said it right when it was like the 3rd game of the season. I'm like, UC is going to beat the brakes off Baylor. I'm telling you that right now. And they've kind of showed that throughout their initial schedule. They've not been great. They had a Hail Mary against who was it? St. John's, somehow won that game. But yeah, I was really hoping, because I love once you get into Big 12 play when every win is like a quad 1 win no matter what. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. We didn't have a great showing out of conference, really. It was really Iowa State, UC, Kansas, and West Virginia had some good wins as well. But West Virginia, their best player's out. I don't know how long. So I'm not sure where they're going to stack up in this whole thing. But I think it's a 3-headed race, dude. I think it's us, Iowa State, and Kansas. Like I was saying that I'm going to take it was like plus 1,100, plus 1,200 to win the Big 12. I don't hate that bet at all. I see a lot of value there. And I think we match up with a lot of these teams really nobody scares me. Houston doesn't scare me anymore. I know we got our ass beat by them so many times. I can't even count. But I think Houston, I think we're the better team, straight up, even just looking at the rosters. So I'm feeling good about the Big 12.
I'm feeling great, man. You know what video I'm going to rip for that Houston game before we play them for our pregame show? It's going to be Kevin McAllister walking outside when the old man Shovel Slayer is standing there. I'm not afraid of you anymore. And then it's going to be Kelvin Sampson over the old man Shovel Slayer. And then Kevin just running back into the house. That's probably the clip I'm going to, because until we actually beat Kelvin Sampson, he terrifies me, man. I mean, that team has beaten Cincinnati, 11 straight times? Wes has never beaten Houston, and we play them on the road the only time this season. So I'm not chalking that up as a W. I know you're very confident, but it's still Houston.
Kansas
Kansas
State road game.
Yeah, Kansas State scares me though, man. Like they kind of give off those Villanova vibes to where it's like, yeah, they've lost some bad games, but they do have talent. You're playing them on the road. The one nice thing is we forget Dan Skillings is one of the most important players on the Cincinnati team, and he did not suit up for the Cats against Villanova. So technically, asterisk, baby. We're undefeated. I mean, Cats are still rolling right now. This schedule at Kansas State, Arizona, at Baylor, and Kansas. We put out a graphic at the beginning of the season and said this is the hardest 4-game stretch in Cincinnati Bearcats history. That's why you don't proclaim things in the summer. Because as of right now, it's 6-5 Kansas State, it's 6-5 Arizona, it's a Baylor team that's been underwhelming, and then it's finally Kansas, who's number 8 in the country. It looks a little different than it did when you had 3 teams in the top 10 to start the season.
It kind of sucks though too, because they're all good teams. Like we could lose to those games. There's no doubt. Arizona's good. They have a loaded schedule. They played a gauntlet. I think they're one of those teams where they're 6-5, but their KenPom is like 24 in the country. So they're good. They're talented. They had 9 7-footers on the roster. So we're not going to be able to outsize them like we've done for much of this season thus far. So it's still going to be tough, but it sucks because, they have not panned out to the schedule that we once thought this was. That could change. I'm sure Kansas State, to your point, they got talented guys. That's not going to be a cakewalk when you're on the road. I'd actually be interested to see what that spread's going to be. It'll probably be much lower than people might think.
Our schedule's pretty easy, man. I mean, when you compare it to the rest of the Big 12, the teams we have twice, you have Kansas State twice, who do not look to be great right now. You have Utah twice. You have BYU twice, and there's still a lot to be said about BYU. You have, West Virginia twice. I mean, I'm still not sold on West Virginia. So you avoid, Iowa State twice, although you do get them on the road. You get Baylor twice, who look to be pretty beatable right now. You get Kansas just once at home. You get Texas Tech, who's always good at home. So right now, I mean, it would have sounded crazy before the season to say that the Bearcats should expect a top 4 finish in this conference. That's where we stand, man. We were projected, 7th, 6th? We were projected 6th. I think finishing 6th in this conference right now would be a disappointment. With what the Cats have shown and what the rest of the conference has shown, I think we're really good, and I think a top 4 finish should be attainable. But you got to start off strong. That Kansas State, Arizona, Baylor, Kansas 4-game stretch, let's go ahead and win 3 of these. And when you go down the list, there's not really a murderer's row. I'm sure some teams, it's like, oh my God, we got Kansas one night, we got Houston the next, we have at BYU, and then we come home to face Iowa State. We don't have that. I mean, there's some cushy games in between every tough battle. I mean, you take on Kansas, sure, that's tough. Then you got Colorado, Arizona State, 2 winnable games. You travel to Iowa State, sure, that's tough. Then it's West Virginia, TCU. And look, Cats are going to be favored in a lot of these games, but if we've learned one thing, unless college basketball has changed drastically in 1 year, which it has not, we're going to lose some of these road games. I mean, that's just what happens. This is not 2001, 2002 anymore, where you're winning 31 games in a pretty solid conference. I think the Cats can expect, 13, maybe 14 wins in this conference at best. I just don't see any way that we're going to go through this thing, 16-2? Are we playing 20 now? I'll count while you talk.
Yeah, this isn't the American. This isn't the American anymore. You can't expect it's college basketball. You're playing elite talent in the Big 12. You're going on the road for half of these things. I don't care who it is. It's going to be a tough win no matter what. But I'm just looking at it. If we beat Kansas State on the road and then go and beat Arizona at home on a Sunday, January 4th, we're probably going to be looking at legit number 8 in the country, something like that in the AP poll, which I know it doesn't mean anything. A lot of basketball to be played. It means something to me. Okay. If I see a number 8 next to our graphic on ESPN, I'm just fired up. It's been so long. It's been since that Gary Clark team where we were sitting, in the top 10. It's been a long time coming. Exactly. And Sean Miller, unfortunately, Chuck's got
I
the
can't
Sean
win a
Miller
damn game.
poster. He's struggling. He is struggling. We're not. We're not at
What's
all.
your
We're
take
feeling
on this,
pretty good.
man? I've seen actually the UC burner community, which is great right now. Not quite Providence, but we're on the rise. I've seen from a lot of them, there's a discourse right now. Some are saying, oh, I want Xavier to win. I want it to look like a decent resume win. I've always been in the camp of I hope they lose every single game. I hope their program shuts down, to be quite frank with you. Sorry to my buddies that are Xavier fans. I hope you don't have a basketball team. I hope you get Louisville. Your thoughts on whether you're rooting for them in some of these games? Like I was laughing my ass off when there was a clear trip on Marquette and they didn't call it. And they've now been hosed in like 3 straight games, including against us. They kind of got.
We could debate that all day. I don't think
We
they
would
got
have won
hosed against us.
regardless. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're a bad call, but we would have won regardless.
Yeah, and no, to your point, I'm not, full blown. I want Xavier to lose every game. I want him to lose out and have the program disband from college basketball. I'm not quite there. I would like to stay. I want them to be decent. I do want that to stay a quad 2 win. I do not want that to jump into quad 3 territory. I actually wanted them to beat Marquette. So no, I don't hate Xavier with such a passion that I want him to lose everything. If we would have lost to them, sure, then I'd be like, lose everything. Like, lose every game, go defeated for the rest of the season. We beat them. So I want them to kind of pad our out-of-conference resume and win some games. I sure as hell don't want them to be like, all of a sudden a top 25 team. I don't need that, okay? Just be decent, and I'll be fine.
Dude, the out-of-conference resume, I mean, it's fine. Cincinnati's 1-0 against the top 25. We lost what's going to end up being either a quad 1 or quad 2, probably quad 2. Against Villanova, not the worst thing in the world. And now you have chances come Big 12 play. Statistics-wise, without you looking, if I brought up the Cincinnati Bearcats stats, which I have right here, and told you to guess what the points discrepancy is from our top 4 scorers, who would you guess and what would the points be?
I would say Seamus Lukosius is our leading scorer with around 15 points.
Bingo.
Jizzle James with 13.
Close, 12.5.
Is he the second leading scorer?
Yep.
And then Dylan Mitchell at like 11.
Dylan Mitchell's at 11, Dan Skilling's at 11.5, and then Bandego 9.1, Day Thomas 7, Page at 6, Hickman at 5, Betsy at 4. Let's talk a little Betsy before we get out of here. I like Tyler Betsy. I think he's going to be a great player in a Bearcats uniform. He is not afraid to let it fly for a freshman, man. Usually see some timidness. Like, I'll tell you who's timid out there from time to time is CJ Frederick. Like, he doesn't let it fly unless he absolutely has to. We saw in the game today, there was a shot clock winding down. Had to fling it up there. He did. It goes in. I'm like, why don't you just shoot it? Like, just fire it up every time you touch it. I don't care if you're 25 feet away. Like, have the CMOS green light. He just doesn't play that way. Betsy does, man. Like, Betsy will stroke and Betsy will let it fly often. I like his game. This isn't what I was expecting him to be. Based off all the tape that I saw of him, and this is why you can't trust huddle tape, because like I thought he was going to be someone that could attack, that could hit step backs, that had an offensive bag. He just hunts shots. That's all he does.
Yeah, and he could develop into something closer to that. He had a couple good drives to the hoop. It was a week or so ago that I like to see. But I just, more than anything, I like getting him in big moments. He's not going to be playing 20 minutes a game or something, just to get him some run in big moments, because I think it's going to pay dividends down the line in his career, because he looks like he's a 4-year guy here. And he can shoot the hell out of the rock. The form is just impeccable. It's beautiful to see. He hasn't been very hot from 3, I will say that. But I like his confidence. I like the way that he just fires them. CJ Frederick, when he's in, should do that. I think he's worried that he might like tear his labrum or something because he's been hurt so much. Maybe he's like, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to be chucking, 46 shots and having my shoulder ripped out of socket or something. So that might be part of it because he's just been hurt so much. But yeah, dude, Tyler Betsy, you got to like what you saw as a freshman. And he's just huge. I mean, he's 6'9", and he's shooting at like a 40% clip from 3. So I think he's going to stick around in the rotation. And like we were talking about last show, Wes has really shrunk that rotation too. Obviously, against Grambling, you're going to see everybody playing. But I like what he did with the rotation against Xavier and Dayton. I think that's a recipe for W's moving forward.
You're not kidding about that torn labrum thing, man. I was in Jacksonville yesterday on Saturday and was doing the speed pitch at Dave & Buster's for my father-in-law's 70th and went out there and flung it, man, without a warm-up. I hit 60 on the gun. Not great, but good God, my shoulder has been hurting for the last 24 hours. May need to put some ice on it. It comes at you quickly when you age a little bit, folks. Don't put those lipids in your body. Take care of your body. CJ's been doing that. I saw today on the broadcast. He's the 5th oldest player in Division I. Still don't really know what his role is going to be on this team, but I would not be surprised if there was a random game where we can't hit water if we fell out of a boat and all of a sudden you see CJ in there. Whether he has that breakout game that we've yet to see in a Bearcats uniform. I think the closest thing we've seen is Georgia Tech last year where he may have hit 2 or 3. I'm waiting for that CJ Frederick 5-piece where he hits 5 3-pointers. We may never get it. That's what we envisioned, but
yeah, I mean, either way, to have in your back pocket a guy that career shoots like 45% from 3, it's a good thing to have. Even if we don't need it, I assume, like you said, there's going to be, a couple of games where he has to get in, maybe a team that's playing a zone and we're getting open threes. Because defensively, he's going to struggle for sure. But if we can't put the ball in the net and we need some type of spark, not a bad guy to have in your back pocket, CJ Frederick.
No, and we saw the matchup zone once again today, how Cincinnati handled it. It's just hard to tell when you're playing a team like Grambling. But, I mean, your best option is probably getting it to the high post and Dylan Mitchell and, letting him make a spin move and take it in for the finger roll, the gliding finger roll, we like to call it, from Dylan Mitchell, who just, gets 7 feet off the ground and just lays it right up and in there. Because there's really not that Trey Scott, Justin Jackson senior year where you can flash to the middle, find him, and he'll turn around and hit that 8-footer. Could Page be that guy? Maybe. Is he that guy right now? Maybe. I don't think we've seen enough to know. So still a long way to go for this Cats team. One thing that we do know is that they are going to be in the top 20 once again come Monday. Could they be in the top 15? My guess is yes. You're thinking the same thing?
I'd have to run through who lost ahead of us. I would think we're going to be like at a minimum 16 in the country.
Okay, we will absolutely take that. Bearcats get the W. They take on Kansas State on the 30th. That is on a Monday, so we have over a week to recuperate, to be thankful this holiday season for everything Wes Miller has given us. Sean Abayev, when we talk about some offensive players coming in, able to knock down some shots, he is crushing it right now in Overtime Elite. I mean, he's putting up 30 pieces game after game, knocking down some threes. So we will continue to monitor his progress this season. But right now, the guys on the floor, they're winning in different ways. And today they won by just having way too much talent for the Grambling Tigers as the Cats improve to 10-1 on the season. We'll see you Monday the 30th. I'm sure Niehaus and Lily will have some form of a midweek show before then. I know Lily spent the last 3 days working up the schedule breakdown and the net rankings. And I mean, what the hell did he have there? He had everything color-coded, Houdini?
Yeah, that was, he had to have had about 6 espressos and just went into the lab. He has every Big 12 schedule broken down. And he did come to the conclusion, I think I could break that news, that as far as a futures bet on winning the conference, UC is the pick. It's the best value pick based on the schedule. So take that to the bank, folks. UC win the Big 12.
UC winning the Big 12. They beat the Grambling Tigers. We will see you for Kansas State. Chatterbox Bearcats. You could find us wherever you get your audio podcasts and on YouTube. Also, our specific Chatterbox Bearcats YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed already, now's the time to do it. Leave a thumbs up. Subscribe on the way out at Chatterbox Bearcats. Same on Instagram. Peace, Houdini.